Hello and happy Friday. I'm Anson, and we're now in week 3 of It's How You Play the Game, which is our fall study. We're looking for wisdom on how God builds winning traditions through losing seasons in our life. So we're moving through the Old Testament story of Job, who had losses of biblical proportion. The book of Job in the Old Testament is a story of his losing season, but it's also of how God built a winning tradition through that. And what we mean by that is we're using a sports analogy to say God can do good things. God has a purpose in the losses that we face in life. We're coming now into Job's more extended response to the suffering that came his way. We saw in the first couple of weeks how his immediate response was one of faith. He trusted in what God was doing. In many ways, a surprising, inexplicable faith, given the nature of his losses. He lost a ton and responded in a way that seemed almost matter of fact. But as we see as the book progresses, we're going to be in Job chapter 3 this week. Once the pain sinks in, once the pain settles in, then Job starts asking some questions. And what we see is he asks the age-old question that's most natural to all of us when we experience suffering and loss and difficulties in life. Why? Why is this happening? Life is filled with unanswered questions, isn't it? So many things that come our way that we have questions about that we just don't get answers to. We have unexplained losses. We've seen recently how there is unjustified evil in the world that we see around us. And so how do we process this? What questions should we be asking? The most natural one, and Job asked it, and we ask it too, is why? Why did these things happen? But what we see in Job is that God sort of turns that question in the Job story. He hears Job calling out, asking why, but he's going to turn Job in a new direction and reframe his question ultimately to consider who God is. The who behind the why is really what we're seeing this week as we continue our study of Job. And so I want to encourage you to join us this Sunday in person if you can, online if you can't make it in person. This is a super important piece of how we play the game, how we navigate life and the questions that we ask. And this question of who, not why, is one that I think is super important for us to unpack and to sit with and to understand. I think it'll be very helpful for all of us as we process the world around us and live in a way that will allow us to trust God and live well, even in a losing season. So pray you'll join us. Would love to see you Sunday, but until then, have a great weekend, and I do hope to see you soon.